So, Ciaran, welcome back to Jordanstown. Is this where you studied? Was it in Jordanstown?
Back, yeah. So I graduated back in 2009. So it's going back now. It's just nearly 10 years. It seems like yesterday, to be fair. So yeah, I done the undergraduate in sports studies.
Right. Okay.
So obviously 2006 to 2009. Graduated 09, and I went then straight into do the masters in sports management. Which was great. Really enjoyed particularly my final year at university, and the in particular the masters, the sports management masters as well. Obviously, the first couple of years of university, you're somewhat living the student life, and you're not so much interested in the academic side of things. You're going along to class, but really the final year when things got serious is when I really sort of started to get on board with the whole academic side of things and really focus more. And I think the final year and the masters in particular. So during my time at Jordanstown, got involved in so many things. Like I went to America for 3 months to work as a coach with UK international soccer camps. That was the summer before my final year. I went to Uganda then as well. Just after I graduated from the undergrad, before I started my masters. Spent 3 weeks in Uganda, and that with a charity called Share Uganda. So that really started my love of Africa and East Africa and that side of things, which we'll talk about in a little while. And I suppose then moving into the masters, I got the opportunity as well to work with Manchester United soccer schools. That was through the master's degree. So, and
were they all opportunities that you had to apply for yourself? Or did you seek them out yourself, or what?
No, so basically the way the Manchester United and the university at that time, they had a link. So a guy from Manchester come over and done a presentation, and we were offered we could apply, and we did apply. And I suppose the interview process, that specific project that I was involved in, was quite intense. There was 2 stages of interview. You had your telephone interview, and then you had to go to Old Trafford. There was a practical element to it, there's a theory based element to it, looking at your team building skills and all that. And then and you're competing against people from all over the UK, all over Ireland, and I was lucky enough that I got through that process. But that link initially was through the university. Same with the UK international soccer camps in America. That was through the university as well. Somebody came in, there was a link there from the link with that business at that time, come and done a presentation, and that really interested me. And I suppose then, but you still had to apply, you still had to go through the interview process. But for somebody that's still studying, still at university, I suppose you have that's always been my mantra, is you have to get involved in these things. You have to go along to the interview, and you have to build your interview skills as well, because that's always been a weakness of mine, has been interview skills in general. So yeah, so you did have to apply for these things.
And did you, at that point in university, when you're undergraduate and even when you get into your masters, did you have a picture or an idea of what you wanted to be doing after you graduated?
Yeah, funnily enough, at that time I was heavily involved in coaching. I wanted to actually be a teacher at that time. I'm not now a teacher, so obviously it didn't work out for me. But again, I did go along to a number of interviews to get into the PGCE. After doing my masters, and unfortunately it wasn't accepted. I went. We're talking about resilience and stuff like that later on, but I went to Durham for an interview, got turned down. I went to Liverpool for an interview to get into teaching, got rejected. So those are setbacks, and I suppose the teaching just wasn't meant for me at that time. And I think looking back now, it's probably, these things are a blessing in disguise, I suppose. Looking back at what then subsequently happened, then moving out of uni and into the world of work. So
what did lead on to after graduation, and where did you?
So I suppose when I graduated from my masters, then I went straight into full-time work with the council as an active communities. It was the Sport and I funded program at that time, where I was a coach, full-time coach. So that was a full-time paid employment, 38 hours a week. And actually, so it wasn't a bad. It was a good role coming out of uni. It was full-time work, my first full-time job. So I was actually working with Derry and Strabane Council up around where initially I was living at that time. So that's where I went down the coaching route initially. And I suppose in 2012 I got the opportunity to go and work at the Olympic and Paralympic Games in London. That was a paid role. It was with my official title was Venue Operations Coordinator at the Olympic Stadium.
Wow.
So that was a game changer for me completely, to have the opportunity to go and do that. So many people, I suppose, went across and volunteered during the time of the games, but I went across in a paid capacity early January and worked right through to nearly well after the games and the whole decommissioning side of things. And that was my first real experience of, I suppose, events management, which I had never thought of before. But that's where that started to lead me to events management, operational management, all that type of thing, and that was my working with the events management, the venue operations team, so access all areas, meet and greet VIPs, all that kind of stuff, it was a bit surreal thinking back now.
Sure, like
but
exciting,
that's where my career sort of went then, from that time onwards.
Yeah.
Then after that, then moving into working for nearly 2 years at the Commonwealth Games as a venue operations manager at a Tier 1 venue, so basically looking after the Scottish Exhibition and Conference Centre from an operational side of things. So that brought me up to, when did I take that role on? That was 2013. So that brought me up just at the end of 2015, so the Games of 2014 and the decommissioning side of things as well.
So you can see there how there is a wee bit of a trend. While it was still sports that you were involved in, there was obviously a specific element that you, through just those volunteering opportunities, originally that you identified events and operations then was your gig, or what you enjoyed?
Well, again, we're looking at basically the Olympics came along. It was a massive thing at that time back in 2011, 2012, and the whole built up and stuff. And I was like, I'd love to get involved in that. Either as a volunteer or as a paid position. But ideally, I would love to get a paid role. So I applied. I think I applied for over 70 different roles.
Wow.
I was basically just sending CVs, phone calls, constant. And I think, I applied for, I think it was about 74, I calculated.
Wow.
70 of them got rejected. You just didn't get a reply. You know how these things go. But luckily enough, 4 of them did come back and say, would like to have a telephone interview. 3 of those telephone interviews got rejected.
Right.
And one telephone interview was successful, went across for another interview. It was Canary Wharf at that time in the offices, and thankfully I got the position.
Wow.
I don't know what their scoring criteria was at that time, but I got it anyway. I was with the Tier 1 venue, the main venue, the Olympic Stadium. So that was massive at that time.
Just on that then, so that's a sheer determination and persistence there that you had went through. Was that something that was just out of passion that you knew that's what you wanted to do and you did that, or how did that come about?
Yeah.
Or?
I think I've always relatively been quite ambitious, and the Masters here helped shape that ambition as well. There's so much you could do in sport that's not just coaching at grassroots level. That's great. It's something that's great to build that experience, and it's something that I crucially had to do. But I think I wanted to maybe work in bigger events. I wanted to work with bigger organisations. Yeah. I wanted to challenge myself and get out and experience. I think that's where that passion came from. Okay. And I was like, right, the Olympics is a great opportunity here.
Yeah.
Let's go for it all in, and I suppose, I didn't really take no for an answer, so to speak. I suppose any advice for young people, you've just got to keep at these things, and look, you're going to get rejected, you're going to get rejected 9 times out of 10, but if you want something, you'll get it, and that's, you set something up, or you go and get the job that you want or whatever, so. Well,
funny, that leads us on to, looking back at your time at university, and, is there a piece of advice, or is there, let's say a piece of advice that you didn't get, or that you did get, that was of great value to you, that you think our students should be aware of or hear now?
I think one thing would be funny thing that always sticks in my mind is, those first 2 years of university, I was just going through the motions, following the crowd, living the life, just every traditional sort of student life. And we're sitting in a lecture one day, I obviously turned up late or whatever, and the lecture just stopped everything. Everybody was no interest, everybody's half asleep, and they're like, what's your passion? What do you want to do? Like, what is your passion? And nobody really had a passion. Maybe drinking or whatever was their passion at that time, but and that got me thinking. I was like, what is what's the purpose of you being here? And that really got me thinking, so that was a great piece of advice. What is your passion? Think about it, and I suppose put the steps in place then of how you're going to actually achieve it. And then that really got into the ball rolling then, with regards to seeing what's out there, sticking in CVs, applying for the big roles. The roles that you're thinking to yourself, geez, I'm not going to get that. There's thousands of people going to be applying for it. Get it in, go along for the interview experience as well, and build that, because interviews in itself is a skill set. I think it's a confidence thing, really. Build that confidence that you are good enough to do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like practice makes perfect. Once you do it a few times, you get used to the scenario and get used to being in that situation.
Yeah, and don't be scared to get stuck in, really, and you will get knockbacks. Like I said, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get knockbacks, but here, so be it,
So, Ciaran, you're interested in a way that, we were discussing it before the camera started rolling, you've got your full-time role now in C3 Solutions.
Yeah, Sector 3 Solutions.
Sector 3 Solutions, and you've also got your social enterprise that you're on the side.
Yep.
Could you give us a little bit of information about each of those?
Yeah, so Sector 3 Solutions, I've been employed with Sector 3 Solutions for the last 2.5 years. I oversee the core retained service. So Sector 3 Solutions, we're a third sector consultancy company. So we work specifically with third sector, non-for-profits, charities, community organisations, amateur sports clubs, etc., etc. And basically we offer an advisory service for those organisations. Anything from trying to access funding to maybe larger scale capital projects. Maybe an amateur sports club looking to build stands, football pitches, etc. We advise them and we guide them through the whole process from start to finish. And then we have a consultancy wing as well, which deals a lot with sort of the government funds. They'll do a lot of business plan, feasibility studies, more the sort of strategic planning side of things as well. So fantastic company to work with. The company employs 11 people, and I oversee the core retained service side of the wing. So that's a monthly subscription that organisations sign up to, and I have a staff of 4 client advisors working under me.
Great.
And we're actually bringing somebody else on board. And even Sector 3 Solutions has a great link with university. Almost all the staff that we bring in are previous graduates from the university. And they've run a great graduate scheme as well, so that's a fantastic company. Small business is really growing, really developing, so I really enjoy the growth that the company's doing and being involved in that, and there's so many of interest and it really is a developing market there for any sort of businesses. But I suppose then on top of that as well, so that's my full-time role, that's 40 hours a week, really, really busy with that, I suppose. And then I formed an organisation called Project Africa Athletics back in 2014. So I was more at the start of 2015. So after the Commonwealth Games finished, I went and spent 3 months in East Africa, in Uganda and Kenya, just doing a wee bit of, you could call it a wee bit of travelling, but it was more, field work, groundwork, with regards to setting up an elite distance running camp. So you watch all the marathons in the world. I don't know if athletics is your thing or not, but any of the big marathons, London, Boston, Chicago, whatever, it's all these Africans that are at the front, always winning, always dominating. So that always fascinated me, because running is my sport. It always has been. Well, I'm a bit out of shape at the minute, but so that's always fascinated me. Where do these guys come from? How do they train? So that's where that whole trip initially came from. And I suppose whenever I got there, I found that in a third world developing country, there's so many talented athletes that need support, that need help, but just aren't getting it. Right. Analogy we use, like you think of a kid here trying to go across to play for Man United or Liverpool, talented, yes, but the chance of actually making it is probably nil. It's probably 1%. So the same philosophy applies in Kenya with regards to running, trying to make it as a runner, professional runner. So many talented athletes, but just no infrastructure, no platform to sort of realise that talent. So we created this social enterprise, this organisation to assist the athletes. So basically what we do is we link with Belfast Marathon, Dublin Marathon, Cardiff Half Marathon, Barcelona Marathon, Jersey Marathon, Edinburgh Marathon, and Kuala Lumpur Marathon, all these all over Europe, all over the world. And we have a training camp in Kenya where we then provide elite athletes for those races. Wow. So we've been doing that over the last since 2015, so the last 4 years, really we've been providing athletes to some of those races, all over Europe, all over the UK, amazing. All over Ireland, And I suppose the whole idea of it is then the athletes would come, they'd win their prize money, they would then take that back to, so that's where the social enterprise model comes from. They're running professionally, they're running for prize money, they're running to compete, but all of their is reinvested then back into the local community. So we're working for, it's not your traditional business model, but it's a community interest company model that we're working off, and we're starting to really develop other add-ons to that, so to speak, as the project develops and as it grows. We've got our social enterprise coffee so over the last 3 to 4 years, the athletes have been investing a lot in Kenyan coffee. Right. So we're starting now, and then this year we're hoping to launch our Kimbia coffee brand now in Northern Ireland. So we're working through that process at the minute with regards to importing green coffee beans and roasting them here and hopefully sell them to the masses. But there's a whole piece of work that we're working through at the minute. And we've recently actually got some funding to employ somebody, and the person that we employed there a month ago was actually currently studying the same degree that I done, the masters, the sports management masters. So I think for me it's quite interesting how it's kind of went full circle,
Yeah.
you know, how that really provided me with a good sound footing in my career moving forward, and now we're able to give back something,
yeah.
you know, to these students coming through
Yeah.
and give them that sort of footing to get out there and build that experience, albeit in a part-time role, you know.
It's interesting because you'd mentioned earlier that it was actually something through university, an extracurricular activity that you first went out to. Was it Kenya and Africa? You said?
Uganda back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
I went
and
out to
that's
Uganda.
What sort of sparked this connection, or
yeah, absolutely. Look, like anybody, like there's never been to East Africa. You only see the ads on the TV. You don't know nothing about it until you go out and experience. And that for me, I was like, look, I've graduated now. My undergrad, I want to do something in the summer, so I'm going to go out for 3 months or 3 weeks. Went out with Share Uganda, and for me, I was like, right, I really want to do something here that's sport related.
Yeah.
So and that was a new passion of mine. You know, that sort of lit the flame. Right, I'm definitely going to do something. But it took, your career takes off. It took until really 2014, 2015. I went out to Uganda first in 2009, I think it was. And it took right up to 2014 till I actually went and done something.
Yeah.
But that's where it absolutely 100%. That's where it started, and with that passion. Then being at the Olympics, watching the Olympic marathon, and Stephen Kiprotich, who was the Ugandan, won the Olympics at that time, and all that interest, my background in running myself.
Yeah.
I was never a very fast runner, but I just loved the sport. That was my thing when I was growing up and stuff. So all that came together to develop Project Africa, you know.
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting just listening to that, because really, as you're saying, that one lecturer whose lecture you were late for and said find your passion, and that you've truly lived that actually and explored that further into to what you have now.
I suppose you could say maybe it was a wee bit of maturity as well as you get older and you come to your final year or whatever, but sometimes you need that trigger point where you're sitting, maybe you're reading the paper in the lecture and you're doing these silly things when you look back now, but you think to yourself, well, you know, what is your passion at that time? You know, really think about that and think that, you know, you can achieve these things, but they hear a hell of a lot of work to get a project from absolutely nothing, no funding initially, basically one-man band initially, you know, to get the support of Belfast Marathon and then network with Dublin Marathon, and for them to commit to fund your athletes and then get all the, that in itself is a massive piece of work. So
well, that's quite interesting, because one of the things I have down here to ask is, you know, for students, you're saying that you're hiring some of our current students or graduates from Ulster University.
Yeah, we got one in there recently.
The chance to work with them as well, and if for example everybody wanted to pursue their passion, quite often that's going to be not part of a graduate job or something on the side of a graduate job. So based on that, what skills do you think nowadays students should be leaving university with? Because what we see is that they do need to be more entrepreneurial and have those enterprise skills. Is that what you would?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to think outside the box. You know, I think in a small sort of economy as Northern Ireland, where there's not a whole lot of graduate positions, but I think the big thing would be have the confidence. You know, you're coming out of uni, you're 20, 21, 20, you're still relatively young, you know, and you don't necessarily need to be going into that 30-year career right off the back, you know. And another thing I suppose I would say would be don't follow the crowd per se. You know, if you have a passion to do something, don't necessarily, if you don't feel the graduate position's right for you, or the position like teaching for me, for example, that didn't work out. But at that time, it was probably more, it was a safe career, it was a safe thing to do if I had got into it. But you know, you don't have to follow the crowd. Be your own person, be independent, and be confident in your own ability, I suppose, would be major skill. Now, coming out of uni, that can be difficult as you're going into the big bad world, but that's, for me, would be a thing that I would say to people. You know, create your own path. You know, it's a bit of a cliche, like, but at the end of the day,
that's quite nice, because the program that we're doing this for is called UUCreate.
Yeah,
and it is about that. It's about creating their own path and being creative in the options it takes.
You've got to knock doors. You've got to knock a lot of doors. You know, and I suppose another thing would be, you don't necessarily need to be looking for that paid role right off the back either. Volunteer, put your neck out there. You know, get involved, help out, volunteer. You know, go along to lecture, go along to information sessions that external organisations are coming in, and don't feel that you have to get paid for your work. You know, it's nice, obviously, but you're still young. You know, you're competing. You have to build your CV, and you have to build your experiences, and you have to build your capacity as well. And look, be resilient. You know, you're going to get knocked back more times than not, and I've said that already. But just take it on your chin and don't stress out too much about it. You know, things will. If you work hard enough, things I suppose will work out for you, you know.
Good.
And you'll be alright.
Because you've covered off there, but you'd said there about the teaching, you know, that was something that you had as a plan that you wanted to do, but it didn't work out. And obviously you'd mentioned it there in earlier about how you're being resilient to that, but how did you what was the moment that you were like, right, okay, this isn't meant to be, this is what I want to do? What happened at that moment? Was there...
I think ultimately I never really had a real passion for teaching in a way. It was more, like I said, it was more the safe option. You get into teaching, it's a good job, it's a career for life, blah, blah, blah. And for me, that was never really my thing, the traditional 9 to 5 and all the rest. So that when I got those few rejections, I suppose, yes, I was pissed off, like, don't get me wrong, but whenever you don't have a passion for something, you don't necessarily then pursue it,
Yeah, because that's a good example, because when you did want to get to the Olympics, 74 application, like, that's
and that's not an exaggeration. I can see I can show you the emails.
That's crazy.
It's constantly been, because there's so many jobs going with the Olympics. There's 30 plus venues. Within each of the venues, there's each of the function areas. The whole operational organisation structure. So many jobs going. So I was just really applying for any just to get involved in it. And you could say it was resilient, but I didn't see that as a chore. I didn't see it, I have to apply again, because that's something I really wanted to do. So when it's your passion, then it's never really, even with Project Africa, there's a lot of work. But it's my passion, it doesn't really seem like work,
So, and this is maybe quite a difficult question, but I know there'll be students listening to our chat today and been thinking, it's great to follow your passion, but one of the challenges might be, well, how do you actually know what your passion is? What is a passion? Is it something that you could do for hours without realize you're working on it, or what would you define as, if they're searching for their passion, how would that happen?
I suppose I've got to look at what interests you. What do you do outside of work? What is it that really motivates you to get out of bed, so to speak? What drives you? I think, and then try to shape something around that. And as you say, there's not a lot of traditional 9 to 5 jobs that will maybe fulfill your passion, so to speak, but that's maybe where you need to be, where you need to start thinking, maybe setting something up yourself and looking like that. And you've got to take risks, but they've got to be calculated risks as well. No point going into something blind. So a lot of planning and link with the people around you, your support network. And you're coming out of university, you've got so many experts in different fields in universities. Like with Project Africa, one of the first things I done when I came back from Africa was linked with Paul Kitchen, who was one of the head lecturers in the sports management degree, and he got me in, and I'd done a presentation on my events management experience, and I'd done a presentation on the project after. That was back in the early days. So there is loads of resources that you can tap into, and that's that constant. Don't be scared to utilize those resources, but you've got to find what interests you outside of your daily 9 to 5 and really see, is there something in this for me? Now it has to obviously be realistic, and just saying you're going to become a Hollywood actor, you've got to think about that, like, is it fucking realistic or not, and that's what you have to plan and take calculated risks as opposed to just taking risks per se, so I think that's really just the advice I would give on that sort of front, but utilize your support networks, and you'll be surprised how many people will want to sort of help you out, and especially within the university here,
Well, that's it. I think since your time, there's obviously been a couple of changes within the university, maybe lots of changes, and one of the things that we'll be talking to the students as part of UUCreate is the introduction of the Enterprise Centre. So we now have an Enterprise Centre within the university in partnership with the Students' Union, where we're here to support those students who want to do something outside of the degree, maybe completely different to what their degree discipline might be. And I think that's a growing trend that we're starting to see. So leaving university, and obviously in your case starting a new career, and also trying to run the social enterprise as well, alongside your full-time job, how do you do that? How do you strike your work-life balance to make sure that your passion doesn't become something that you can't fulfill because you're doing so much at the one time?
Yeah, I suppose the big thing really is, of us, the people around you. Like my fiance, for example, was massively supportive. She's been to Kenya several times, so having that sort of support, personal support, I suppose, and my close-knit family as well, they all buy into it, and they have a passion for it as well, so having that network, then that small close-knit network, and my close friends as well, help and support it, and they drive it, and I suppose they see the benefits of it, helping the athletes out and giving them that platform, and You know, I suppose the scale of it as well, you know, so all those things add up to having a good support network. But look, you don't necessarily have much of a personal life, really. You know, you're not going out at the weekends, and I'm a bit old for that stuff now anyway, but you know, that's, you know, basically my Saturdays are Project Africa work, Sundays are Project Africa work, Monday to Friday are my full-time paid employment work, you know. But even my employers, you know, Sector 3 Solutions, you know, great, fantastic employers, really flexible, and they love to see their staff getting involved and developing new skills, because ultimately it helps the business as well, you know, and it helps our performance, and the staff that I look after and the personal development staff, you know, we encourage that as much as we can, and they give as much support as we can, you know. But yeah, striking that work-life balance can be difficult, if I suppose, if you didn't have that support network around you. But as I said, working Saturdays in Project Africa, it's not work, you know. It's,
well, that's what I was going to say, because there's that phrase, you know, is it you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, or something like that. And you know, for many people, if they are truly like yourself, fulfilling their passion, you know, where Saturdays and Sundays may be something that they, you know, they might play sport in their own, that might be their passion. But if it is truly fulfilling their passion, it, as you said, it won't feel like work. It's actually getting a chance to do something that you would see as what you'd be wanting, how you'd want to spend your weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, but things like my own run, like I said, when I was at university, I was training a lot, you know, and competing a lot. Like, you might be out maybe training twice a day, some days during the week, you know. But things like that now, I just don't do anymore, because your Saturdays and Sundays and during the week you're really busy with work or whatever. So things like that have massively took a back seat. But I think at this minute in time, that's absolutely fine. You know, it's just, I suppose, although next year, 2020 next year, so I'm getting married next year, so you know how that works out and stuff, that's still to you know, obviously that's going to have to take priority next year, so even factoring that in, and launching the Kimbia coffee and that whole concept, and keeping Project Africa going as in its current state, and growing and developing it further. You know, we take the athletes into schools as well. You know, there's a whole load of things that need to be, you know, our own sort of internal structures and funding, you know, all that is growing and developing. So at some point there has to be a real strategic look at it, I suppose, and that's challenges that we just have to overcome as we go. But having the passion for something is all well and good, but you have to think realistically about, you know, your own things outside of work and your family and stuff like that as well, you know. And
just to finish up then, just because it links quite nicely into prioritising, and obviously prioritising in a work environment is something that is, whether the boss needs it and that's top priority, or if it's something that's critical to the business. But in your personal life then, especially in like yourself, Ciaran, who has so much going on, prioritising, is it a matter of saying, and being really blunt and saying, you know, this is what I want to do, so this is my top priority? I know, even like you were saying there, the running is obviously something you're passionate about as well. How do you prioritise that? And you may have answered it before, but I just want to try and get it clear, because I know that's something that some of our students will be actively getting involved in everything, whether that's within the students' union, a society, in a club, or a council, or part of the student council, whatever it might be. How do you prioritise, and is it a matter of being as selfish as saying, this is what I want to do, so this is what my priority is?
Yeah, no, I think the stage of the career that I'm at the minute really is, you know, I have to, I prioritise my 9 to 5 work, you know, because that's what pays the bills ultimately, as you say, being blunt about it. You know, that's always will be my priority, and I suppose then deadlines and everything that comes with that, then that obviously takes priority, you know. So it's just being realistic of what is the priorities, and what is your day-to-day stuff as well, you know, and making sure, like I said, looking at it holistically, so to speak, and you know, you have your passion and all the rest, and you know, you've got your, you know, your ambitions with a project and stuff like that, but ultimately, you know, what is the priorities, if that makes sense, you know. And it's your 9 to 5, it's your day job, so to speak, you know, and growing and developing within that as well, and still being ambitious and pushing on and developing in your career. But I suppose then, that's really it, you know. That's how I sort of prioritise it, is usually looking at it bluntly, what's going to make you progress in your own career, and obviously the passion that I have, and the social enterprise, and growing and developing that as well, you know, so they kind of go hand in hand with each other, you know. The passion and the real scope, and looking at it, like we said about taking calculated risks, you know, looking at it strategically as well, and you know, where's it going to go, and what do we need to prioritise to get to the next stage, and really just sitting back and thinking and looking at it, saying, right, where do we go from here, and how's this going to advance my own career and advance my own ambitions, I suppose, and having that, not rushing head first into things, you know, if that makes sense, you know, and that's really how I sort of prioritise things. But people coming out of university, they're at a different stage of their careers to what I'm at now.
Of course.
You know, so I would still say to ones coming out of uni, you know, get involved, you know, and you know, prioritise as much as you can and be busy. You know, don't be idle, so to speak. You know.
Okay.
Get
so is that what you would? Because that was. You're reading well ahead here. You should be asking yourself the questions.
I didn't. To be honest, I had a quick look at these questions from up the road.
You're covering it really well. So is that what you're to finish up then? I know I said that earlier, but we've just had a really good conversation. If looking back to you being in say your final year of your undergraduate degree, now you obviously got the good piece of advice about follow your passion and what is your passion, but speaking to yourself, what would you be saying right now, or what would you say? What change would you make maybe, or what would...
Speaking to myself, if I could go back 10 years ago, I'd be saying to myself, look, knuckle down, get yourself on. And the big thing as well is don't follow the crowd. There'll be so many people in your final year that going through the motions have probably no much ambition really to get a good grade or to do well or maybe to progress in it, So I think, be tunnel vision, which I wasn't for a long time. My first couple of years at uni, I was just... You had the mates and you had your crowd and all the rest. That would be a big piece of advice. Would be, look, have a think about what is your passion and what do you need to do to get there, and not be ruthless, but you have to think about tunnel vision. Like I said, you really
think
need
about you.
Yeah, you need to really focus in and say, look, ultimately the ones that are maybe messing about, maybe not putting the effort in your final year, where are they going to be in 5 years' time? Are they going to be struggling for work? Are they going to be, doing a job that they don't want to do? So. My younger brother, he's in his final year at the minute, with university actually here. He's studying here, and that's basically what we're saying to him. Really, is look, let's get stuck in here and let's think. Do you want the job? Do you want to do well? Do you want to, or do you want to be skint in 5 years' time? You know what I mean? Having a degree and really struggling. So you just got to be realistic about the things and get yourself on. I know it's a maturity thing as well that you go through, but I think and get involved, and that then feeds into look. Get yourself out there, volunteer. Yeah. Don't expect paid roles right away. You're not entitled to anything. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're entitled to, you're entitled to a decent salary, you're entitled to a decent wage. That's not the case. You need to have the ability. You need to be a worker. Bottom line is you need to be a grafter. You need to get stuck into things and really be pushing forward. I think that's basically what I would say to myself. Yeah. I suppose if we were able to go 10 years ago, that's mad. It was 2009 I got graduated.
Well, that's perfect. Look, thank you very much, Ciaran. I think that really summarises everything we wanted to get across. And
brilliant.
Obviously, to summarise as well that at university there's so many opportunities that exist to students at Ulster University in particular through whether it's through the careers department and through the Edge Award and everything that they offer, or within the Students' Union and all of the volunteering opportunities. We've actually just this year launched the volunteering centre within the Students' Union across our 4 campuses as well. And I think it is about, to summarise from what I've heard from your story, is about taking advantage of what is on offer for you.
100%,
because that seems to have been the things that have got you to progress along the way, is by just getting involved, as you said, and trying to figure out
trying these things out. And like I said, I'm repeating myself, sorry, but you're going to get knocked back, and so many young people these days, they feel like they have to do things as groups. Yeah, my mate's doing this or my mate's doing that, I'm going to go as well. But at the stage, you're going to have to say to yourself, well, no, I'm going to be independent here, I'm going to do these things myself, or you will be left behind, if you expect somebody else to come with you. So I think that's the advice.
Perfect.
Well, take it or not, it's another story. But
thank you very much for coming in and having a chat with us.
No worries,
I'm
great.
sure the guys will get really good value from that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers.